What is up, home church? Um, Today's episode, I first want to kick off by saying happy birthday, Plumley. And Caitlin and I got you a gift, so go ahead and open up that bad boy.
Well, thank you, sir. For those of you that can't see, it's a potty golfing total vision. It even comes with a do not disturb sign for the handle on your bathroom for
Oh, and you also got a gift from the church, too. So, uh, all the leaders from the church got you a gift over there as well.
and candy. Well, thank you, everybody. Well, I appreciate the birthday wishes. Who do we have today with us, Zach?
We have Corrine with us today.
Woohoo!
So,
I was gonna say, do I
Yeah, the live studio audience
Studio
was.
audience,
Yeah, they were a little behind. Corinne, how do you say your last name? Because whenever I was trying to type it in, I got frustrated multiple times.
So you pronounce it Shelangoski.
And that is
Polish.
Polish. Okay.
I went from Gilmore to Shelangoski, so it's been. People can't spell my first name, so spelling the last name is just an added bonus. Spelling it, pronouncing it.
Doesn't help. Now,
No,
what
not at all.
nicknames? JB, we got fortunate enough. That one's about
Fairly
as simple as
simple,
it
yeah.
gets. It's a J and a B. JB. So none. Okay.
You're only rocking with about probably corn is probably the only one that mainly I respond to. Like my husband calls me corn. I've been called corn since I was in 7th grade. So you can call me whatever you want. You can call me that girl over there. Hey you. Just whatever fits.
hey, you with the face.
Yeah. You
We would say, hey, you that's in the worship team, but you're on more teams than that. Will you please elaborate on the different teams that you are on at home church? Because there are multiple.
So I'm rocking 3 right now. Rocking 3's a good number. I'm on worship team, like you said. I'm on the media team, so back here with you guys, which is a lot of fun. And then I'm also in the kids' church, so helping out in the K through 5 classroom and a little bit back there.
So now the K through 5, was there any reason for the K through 5, or was it just an open spot and you were available at that time?
So I actually had Tamara. She asked me. She was like, "Hey, I'm gonna. I only serve in there 1 weekend a month, and I need help because she wanted to focus more on photography and stuff like that in her own life. So she asked me, and I was like, yeah, sure. And just kind of ever since then, I've just tried to fill in where I can, and just been oh, you're requested to serve, and it's okay, cool, yeah, I'll do it. It's no big deal. So.
And you started on worship team, correct? That's where you started?
Yeah.
So from there, it was it the media team or the kids?
It was then it was the media team because we had that meeting or whatever, and then I think Dana or someone mentioned yeah, I think we're just gonna have to there are teams that are gonna need help, and so I think media team was the first one that they said, and I just kind of raised my hand because I think I had interest, I had done tech work in high school in theater and stuff, and so tech has always interested me as well as being on stage because I feel being versatile in that is something that is a very redeemable quality in people, and you can be you can kind of plug and play wherever you need. So that worship team is kind of my I feel reflecting back to my theater background and being on stage, and then media team is reflecting my background and technical side and having a appreciation for both sides. I feel
Yeah, and it helps sort of connect that barrier from the media team and the worship team because I mean they get last minute changes just as we do. They have to roll with them. It's better off whenever you've got somebody who's been in both positions who's like, okay, guys, well, this is what they're going through up there, and then whenever you're up there, you can go, hey guys, just so you know, this is what they're going through back there. When that happens, that's been an extra added nice piece of vision back here is because I mean we do have this little wall here. I think sometimes we can tend to think we're kind of just on our own, but that nice little connection has helped. So we'll go ahead and we'll kind of do like what we did with JB. We'll just get started off with a story. We may veer off in somewhere land, just somewhere, whatever, you know.
Yeah, however it goes.
So, what do you remember your first church experience, your first Christ experience?
I don't remember like my first. I briefly remember like my first experience with Christ. I think like there was probably an after school program that I went to, um, like once or twice, and it was mainly because like even though I lived literally like my elementary school was like down the street from my house, my mom wasn't comfortable with me walking home just yet, so she would still like way home from work and stuff. So there was this after school program I went to. They would teach about like science and stuff, so like experiments and like chemistry and things like that to like interest the kids. But then there was also like um, there would be a shift to where we would sing like worship songs. Like there was one that I always remember was people, be strong, for the Lord our God is with you. Like something like that. That sometimes it'll trigger a memory, like something will trigger that. But so like I've always had, and also like growing up, um, we did go to um, church. Like we went to. I was raised Catholic. Um, so going to we stopped. I feel like we stopped going to mass. I barely vaguely remember it. Um, I think whenever I was like 1 or 2, we stopped going. So I've also like just gone to mass like just throughout my life. So like there's always been a presence of Christ and of God in my life. I just feel like now that like back then I feel like you could honestly say that I was very immature in not understanding or maybe appreciating the fact that he was there. So um, then having growing up and then becoming the age that I am, then finally being like, okay, now I feel like there was this shift of just like I feel like I can understand it more and appreciate it more. And I also went to like Bible study in high school. Like my senior year of high school, I went to like with just a couple of people. We went to Bible study. Also because like I needed rides to school, so like I would go to Bible study, and then that way I could get a ride to school. So Christ has always been there. I just feel like it wasn't like as predominant in my life, and like I didn't really like. Not that I didn't appreciate it, but it wasn't always prevalent around as much.
And like whenever you're a kid too, the one thing that I find funny about just a bunch of kids just hanging out, I say a bunch of kids, but I mean in youth night there's at least there's 12 to 8. You really begin to see that they can kind of they're themselves at school, but then you see them here at church, and they've got their problems. The teacher this and this teacher that, and it's funny to think that whenever you're a kid, you think you have all of these problems with this and this going on, and so to kind of wrap your mind around on top of that, a God that does all of this stuff for you, and you try to jam that in with learning school and learning all of that stuff. Sometimes you think that that's difficult, and then you get to like the graduating stage, and you're like, okay, well, I just want to get out. Let's move on. We need to, that's how I was, anyways. And so that whole teenage into high school, getting ready to go to college, that sort of stuff. You are married. When did you meet your husband?
So I met him almost 7 years ago. I met him. I actually met him. We worked together. So he was an assistant manager, and I worked at like the pay station counter at I worked at the pay station counter at Hy-Vee, and he, I guess he knew. So he initially knew my sister first because she also worked there, and so I'd never seen him before until I started working there. And then whenever I started working there, I thought I noticed him, and I was like, he's probably like in his 30s, like early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, something like that. And then he's actually like a year older than I am. So, but we met at work, and just kind of from there, it just sparked. He cornered me one day. Before I was leaving work, and he was just like, we had talked earlier in the day, and he ordered me before I left. He goes, "Oh, what's your number, by the way?" So I gave him my number, and I was just like not interested in dating somebody I worked with, because I had seen other people date people they worked with, and had my fair share of walking in on people making out in the fridge and stuff like that, the freezer. So I was just, I don't know. I gave every excuse in the book why I couldn't go on a date, and then I was like, okay, I finally I'll just see where it goes. So I will. So then we went out on a date, and it was just kind of history from there.
Sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties back here in the sound booth. We're trying to switch around mics last minute. Is the little pack turned off?
Nope.
Turn the little pack off, and then just use that mic and see if that.
This one.
Can you hear now?
Hello. We're just not going to hear Zach all day, all the time.
No, it's cool. I'll be loud with Nathan. All right.
So, all right, I think we got things figured out here. We're going to make things work for this. But, so, you meet him, you guys. So, whenever you're going, did you go to college?
I did.
What college did you go to?
So, I started at Missouri. Well, so I was going to try to be a little overachiever. And I went to OTC and Missouri State at the same time because I auditioned for the BFA acting program there, and I wanted to just try to pursue acting as much as I could. And so I auditioned for the program. I got in. I didn't think I would get in because I'm more of a I'm not a musical theater person. I'm more of like just a straight play actor kind of thing. And so I auditioned, I got in, and then I was doing acting classes at Missouri State, and then I was doing general education classes at OTC. So I did that for a little bit, and then I found out that like as soon as people in the acting program at the time found out that I was not interested in moving to New York or Los Angeles, I was kind of blacklisted from the program. Not for my teachers, but like the people that I was in the program with. So I did like a semester and a half of that, and then I finished my gen ed classes at OTC, transferred to Missouri State, and then I have a bachelor's in communication, and just got my undergrad, and I was just like, get me out of here. College isn't for everybody.
So, obviously, from that aspect of it, somebody that loves theater, somebody that doesn't mind being on stage. So, on a Wednesday night worship, this was one of those little moments where we're going to sidetrack for a second. Something on like a Wednesday night, or the practices on Tuesday night. performing on Sunday to get in, and we'll have more people that'll be able to describe. But as somebody like yourself, do you go in? Is there a deep prayer or deep something that you go into before you get on stage to get all of the fear and the anxiety away, or are you just somebody that's just a natural? Just getting up there and singing is just something that's natural. God's blessed you with that ability.
I feel like also because I'm very extroverted, like not that I like being the center of attention, but like if there's attention on me, it's not anything like I'm nervous about. But I there's not really a deep prayer. There's just kind of like it's just doing it. It's just kind of like you don't need to like you don't need to have like the fear and the anxiety. Like you know what to do, and you know that people seeing. I think what helps is like knowing that people see me up there, and like there are people that are probably in the pews that are like, I wish I could have the confidence to get up there, or I love watching her, worship and lifting her hands and stuff like that. And it's also just like it brings me back because it's just a very moving experience. And this walk that I have is nothing I've taken this seriously, and nothing that I've had this predominant in my life. So it just motivates me every time. It's just now it's just kind of like it's you don't think about it whenever you do it. You just kind of go up there and do it. So but it also helps knowing that like I can if I'm able to, I can bring that aspect of worship out in somebody else, like even if it's just a little bit, even if it's raising a hand one time or they're mouthing the words or whatever. So it's like there's no words to describe just how good it feels to do something like that.
And that's another thing too. You go back to like whenever you go back to the teenage years, and even whenever you're trying to find yourself, a lot of people, whenever it comes to praying and whenever it comes to worshiping, whenever you're that age, you're so worried about doing it the perfect way. The perfect way for worship is this. The perfect way for prayer is this. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about working with the youth is you get this simplified version, and it kind of helps you elaborate on who and what Jesus is.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you begin to study people praising and worshiping, you think, okay, what do they do? What do they do? It really truly is how do you feel comfortable? How can you get comfortable in your position with God? Like how can you get into a place in front of other people where when your nose scratches and you don't want to scratch it because you might look weird,
yeah.
or because your armpits are sweating and you can feel it dripping down your side. Yep. And the first thing you want to do is, oh no, people are looking. Yeah. So that was something that I enjoy getting over with, and to see people, somebody like you, that it's just natural. You can see that there's nothing to fear whenever you just be you and you enjoy being around others and you can be yourself. There's nothing better than that. And to see that there's no reason to fear talking to people and getting up in front of people and worshiping, that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's cool to see that. Mm-hmm. It's cool to see somebody that just, it is what it is. You're going to go up and do your thing because you're going to do what you feel comfortable for God. So just to see that flow, you begin to see, oh, okay, well, so there is a way that I can praise and worship, and it's not like what this guy's doing, and I feel comfortable and I can block everybody else out. So
for sure, yeah, it feels great every single time.
And so I know a couple of years ago, well, I say a couple of years, it just goes so fast.
Yeah.
But it was last year. Because we were doing the fast on Wednesday night prayer. I know a lot of your prayer requests were for a job. You were looking for a job and stuff like that. How is that going?
It's going well. There's always challenges with jobs and work and everything, and I definitely feel like the past couple of months, like I've only been there for like Monday will be like 6 months that I've been there, and there's definitely been some hard hitting stuff And I don't want to, I don't want to get into it just because it's like there's so much. There's so much. It's like it seems like there's a lot of turmoil and valleys and everything. And I'm trying to just like keep my head down and just like show up, do what I'm supposed to do, and then go home for the day. But overall, I think the people make it fun. I like who I work with, and they still make it good to come into work. So that's been fulfilled. I definitely feel like God's like, you know what, it's not going to be easy, and that's with everything. It's not going to be, sunshine and rainbows all the time. Like you're going to be tested, and especially because like working in healthcare is like a whole other ball game. So, but overall, it's not been terrible, and we just kind of roll with the punches.
So did you would have caught the tail end? Were you working in like the healthcare industry during the COVID times?
No, so
Did you catch the tail end of that?
no, thankfully I wasn't. But thankfully I wasn't in working in COVID. But just I have a background in like scheduling and working front desk. I feel like that's like the only thing I'm good at. Like you look at my resume, it's just like all front desk stuff. But I have a background in like scheduling people and like scheduling people out and things like that. So that's been easy. But obviously, like insurance is a whole other thing that's like put on top of it. So that always makes it like people are like, well, my insurance should be paying more, or I don't want to pay that, or I just walked out and I didn't pay today and I owed like $100 and stuff like that. So it's always fun making those phone calls and being like, hey, what's up, girl? I need $40 from you because you just hop, skip, and jump right out of the front door, and I didn't, you didn't check out with me, type of thing. But I feel like I kind of have like thick skin, so like stuff like that is slowly not getting to the point where I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh, I'm nervous. I don't want to be asking people for money. So, but
what is like the long term visual, like what in it are you, whenever it comes to serving here at home church, is there I know we all have our things that push us, and obviously serving God, you're serving God, it's you're honoring him with your time. But I know for me, one of the reasons that one of the things that drives me now is the youth. So I'm not necessarily looking for numbers. I'm not trying. I don't want numbers, but it's been cool to see home church go from filling just the first 3 rows to we have a packed Sunday, almost every Sunday now, it feels like. And I want that for the youth. So I'm definitely not pushing anything. It's God's work, but that's the vision that the Lord has presented me with is the youth filling this room and the youth knowing how to run this stuff. As somebody that does multiple things, whenever you see the work, whenever you're going up there and you see the new people, the new faces, or when you're back there and you see, we're getting new babies being born every week, it seems like, whether you're back there with the kids and you see a new baby come in, or whether it's back here seeing somebody else that is just now getting on their feet and starting to serve, and the media is the place. What is something that drives you? What's something that gives you, what's something that you see and it's just like, all right, I can't wait? Is it just the companionship here? Is it that, or is there something that drives you to serve for 3 different departments in the church?
I think because like I've seen when people have like needed help and like groups, or whether it's at work or whether it's like with your friends, like I'm just always that kind of person that's like, yeah, I'll do it. Like I'll help however I can. Like I'll, if I need to meet you somewhere and help you with something or whatever it is. Like I feel like I'm kind of that person that's like, I'll drop everything and I'll go where I need to be. I feel like I kind of get that from my mom, because like she's very like, we'll drop everything and we'll like be there in 10 minutes type of thing. Like you locked yourself out of the house and you need a ride, like I'll be there in 5 minutes, like that type of thing. So, and also the companionship, because just save that seeing other people like do just show up and do the same thing like every day, like no questions asked, like, and it's not like, ugh, I have to go to rehearsal tonight. It's okay, I have to go to rehearsal tonight. Like I have to do this, or ugh, I have to serve in the kids' church. Like it's like, no, I'm serving in the kids' church and helping how I can, or I'm collecting, or I'm helping out with communion, or I'm greeting people at the door. Like it's not a burden on people in anyone here. It's like everyone is willing to jump in and fill in where they need to, and like I said, no questions asked. So that's what I feel like motivates me the most with just wanting to continuing to do something like this is the other people around me, as well as just wanting to continue to serve, and I just love doing it. So that's really the big thing.
One thing that and we'll have, like we said, try to have as many people on here as we can. But I've got a printout of the people serving this week, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different departments. We've got the band, we've got children's ministry, we've got hospitality, media, production, speaker, and worship team. And we have something here that is called the parking lot greeter. 9 times out of 10, it's Clayton Lyle, Rev, out there greeting somebody. But the funny thing is like, Lyle. Yeah, but that's a thing here, and a lot of people take that for granted. But I've said it before. The first few times I was here, I seen him out there greeting with a stop sign in his hand, and I was like, man, this guy's really nice. Not to name drop or anything like that, but whenever I went to James River, they had the parking lot greeter with the sign and blah, 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 and I was like, and then I look up and he's up there preaching, and it's like the same guy preaching is willing to hold a stop sign and walk you across. That's pretty cool. So that just adds on to what you were talking about. Yeah. You see these people, Sarah Winfield, one who comes in, she's part of the hospitality department, comes in early, gets coffee ready, gets everything ready, greets you, nice, how's it going? And whenever you're done, you're like, wow, that lady was really nice, but you don't think about the time that she took to come out here of her day early to get you coffee ready and to make you feel warm. And that's what I love about home church, is exactly what you just said, the companionship. So. Yeah.
I think
let's hear Zach.
You guys pretty much covered it. I mean, there's a lot of people here that wear many different hats, just like you do. I mean, just to name a few: Jamie, Clayton. Caitlin does a lot too behind the scenes. I believe she's on the prayer team now too, which is really, really
I think
cool.
she is. Yeah.
And then, not to mention, the prayer team just in general goes above and beyond for people without.
I submit a lot of requests. I submit a lot of requests.
But, without trying to offend anybody, what's your favorite position to serve on? What team?
Oh gosh.
You can be honest.
I definitely.
Oh, it's us.
I definitely like. I think I like. I don't want to rank it.
I just want to let you know that I am jealous of everybody that's on the worship team. So if you say worship 100%. Team,
I told you should get up there. Like, guys, don't let them fool you. It took us like 2 weeks to get this podcast started. This episode started.
Hey, perfect. It's perfect though. So,
I think my main background is obviously performing. And not saying that, like, worship is performing, but, like, well, it essentially is. But, like, I'm not going up there just to perform. But singing has just always been, like, a part of my life. So I like going up there singing. But I also like to humble myself by, like, working in the kids' church or working in tech and being like, oh, I wish I could be up there singing that song, but it's not my week. It's not my week. Sit down. It's not my time. But they kind of just all sit on there's really not like a ranking one above the other. They all bring something different to the table that I love doing. Like I love now, I used to not be good with kids, but now I'm good with kids. So like being with the kids is something very fulfilling, and like, being with, teaching them and doing activities and stuff. I also love doing tech back here, and like we would always say in theater, like if it wasn't for your technicians, you'd be naked in the dark on stage with nothing. So because they have your costumes and the lights and uh, the uh, the lights and everything like that. So um, uh, so they would they would uh, you know do pretty much everything behind the scenes, and then um, performing is something that I've done since I was like 8 years old. So singing, acting, um, not dancing, but singing, acting, and all that stuff. Doing that since I was like really young. So being on stage and singing is something I love to do, and working in tech and learning how to like I love to um, edit videos and stuff like that. But like also editing slides and being able to help people out so they're not blind on stage, and being able to sing and know the lyrics and everything, and then being fulfilled by the kids and all that stuff, and give the parents a break while they're able to just focus on sermon and everything like that. So they bring something different to the table. So I'm just incredibly fulfilled every single time I do every single one of those things. So there's really no like one above the other.
So I know Caitlin has a favorite song that she likes to get up and worship with. But do you have a favorite song that you like to go up and sing that every time it's on the set list you're just like, yes?
Mm-hmm. Oh man, the problem is like I'll know the song, but like half the time I don't know the name. I think uh I think lately my favorite has been Awestruck. I love that song. I love the songs that are more like, I also love I don't even know if that's the right name, but like Lion of Judah, that song. I don't know if that's just called Roar. Is it just called Lion?
Yeah.
I never know what it's called. But I love that song. Like I love like hard, like really ampy, and like I love singing that one. And then like I love the quiet ones like Awestruck. So those are probably like, as of right now, like those are probably like my two favorites that I'm like, yes. I don't know if I've been on the set list when Lion has been on, and every time I'm kind of like, I'm a little bit hurt, but like, I'm like, it's fine. Whenever I get to the point where I make the set list, then every time I'm on there, I'll be like, just slip this one in here.
Have you ever been in the kids ministry, helping out, and then all of a sudden you just see it click for somebody back there? Have you gotten to witness that yet?
Mm-hmm.
Or, help fulfill that moment and just, I don't know where I'm going with the question, but what experience was that like, or what happened during that experience?
I think like I think lately too, it's been, like probably like 6 or so months ago, probably longer than that. I was in a really bad like headspace, like mentally, just like my depression was pretty bad. My anxiety was pretty bad. But then, there were times where like I was just laying in bed all day long and like not really like feeling anything. And I just was kind of like almost like a shell. But then I remember I had to serve in the kids' church, and just the walking through the door, and 5 of them are just like, Corrine. It's like it changes everything. It's like, okay, I have, not saying that I don't have purpose, but like it all kind of like washes away. Not only the not only the fact of like with God, and his presence and everything, and just being like trying to, ail those anxieties and everything, but then, seeing it physically like in those kids, and they're like so excited to see you. And it's like, no matter what is going on, it's like there's not one person when you come in here that isn't excited to see you. So it's like you could be going through like, surgery, or like we've had multiple people, like a couple people that have like gone through surgeries lately. There are, you could have a bad day at work, a bad work week. an argument with your spouse or your parents or whatever, but then you come here and then there's kids that are excited to see you. There's adults that are excited to see you. There's babies to be held and squished, and there's babies to hold and squish and cuddle and everything like that. So there are times where like I feel like it hits every kid differently, but I feel like it's kind of a multiple at one time. Like there are some kids where like one week they'll be worshiping, and then the next weekend they won't be worshiping, but like they'll lift their hands or they'll stand or everything like that. But I feel like it does hit everybody differently, but every week is a new experience for them to try. And so there hasn't been like one particular moment, but every week that, we serve in the kids' church, there's always different moments that will occur, but they keep you on your toes. They're good kids. They're good kids, by the way. They're very good kids.
So we had an issue with the recording. So we've been talking for about 38 minutes, and if you're listening live, which I think it's only Justin Barton at this moment, you have heard all 38 minutes of what we said. For those of you that will be listening to the podcast later on, you will not have heard what we've said. So, unfortunately, we are going to have to do a quick recap of everything that we've talked about so far. Today on the podcast, we currently have Corrine, and I can't say her last name still. So, Corrine, how do you say your last name?
Shelangoski.
There we go. And I'm too far away to hit the record cheer button, but we would have a cheer. Hold on one moment.
Brace for it.
There we are. We have learned that...
Is not very good with tech.
Previously on The Last of Us.
Yes. So if you want to give us a brief recap of time from the childhood all the way up to where we were talking about, I guess pretty much just a quick recap of childhood, learning about Christ, all of that again. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
It's fine. I'll forgive you this time. So I grew up, I guess you could say raised Catholic. Like my family typically went to Mass on Sundays and stuff. My grandma was very involved and had a Catholic funeral and that kind of thing. So I went to Mass. So Christ was always around. I just feel like I wasn't as I feel very mature in the fact of praying and reading the Bible and attending church and things like that. Especially because I didn't have a car until I was 19. So driving myself places, driving myself to church or finding friends that went to church wasn't necessarily a thing for me. But having my experience young in childhood, like I said, he was always there. I knew the story. There's a family video, I think, of my dad reading us when we were really young the Christmas story from the Bible. And then I feel that just kind of over the years just kind of fizzled out. But regardless, I had gone to church before with friends, here and there, when you go to a sleepover and they're okay, well, you can sleep over, but we're going to church tomorrow, so you need to wake up at...
And you second guess that friend.
You're actually, I just broke my foot, so I can't come to your sleepover.
If you go to that church where Clayton Lyle's at, he keeps you there for 3 days.
Especially, when he says bring a sack lunch, he's not lying, people. Lying. So I would go every so often, and then I would go to Mass, for Christmas and Easter. I would go to midnight Mass and stuff like that. I would literally run out of the pews because the incense over the Bible would make me want to throw up because I just didn't like the smell. Not saying that there's anything bad with that, but I was just I'm a heave. So I've gone to Mass, and like I said, there was a presence of Christ in my life, and but I've never been this serious about it. So finding here has just kind of changed my perspective on everything, and it's been been life-changing for sure.
And so what before we talked about...
We don't have to talk about
Yeah,
it.
but we talked about college. You
Yeah.
were going, you wanted acting to pursue. You really liked theater and stuff like that. You found out that if you weren't willing to go to New York, that's probably not going to happen. So around this same time, is that when you found your connection to home church, or how belated was home church from college and all that stuff?
So I think I was... So I found home church in July of 2021. So I was in my last semester of college at that point. So my friend Shelby, shout out to Shelby, she worked with Jamie in the wedding planning business. I can't remember what necessarily they worked for, but they were at just like an expo show, and I think Jamie was there, and Jamie mentioned to Shelby, she was like, you should come to church with me and all this stuff. My husband's, pastor, all this stuff. And she was like, oh, okay. And so Shelby texted me, and she was like, hey, I got invited to go to church on Sunday. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, sure. And this was before she moved. So like she lived really close to me. So she picked me up, we went, and I remember I like overdressed like for church, but I was like, okay, like I know what to do. Like, when you dress for church, you usually dress like really nice and stuff like that. And so we came, and first person I saw was Mandy, and I hadn't seen Mandy in, it's a really long time. Like, so she was friends, for people who don't know, probably everybody knows, but she was friends with my sister. They were best friends in high school, and they kind of lost touch. There were a lot of things that transpired, and a lot of ugliness that wasn't their result, but somebody else. But they just lost touch. So I saw Mandy, and I was like, oh no. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. And we like locked eyes, and I was like, ha. I was like, I'm nervous. I leaned over to my friend Shelby, and I was like, I know her. And she goes, oh, is it bad? And I was like, I don't know. So Mandy came right over to me. She recognized me immediately. And she was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, hey, girl. I was like, hey, how y'all doing? Like, everything's cool, all that stuff. But it was fine. And then I was like, oh, of course she's up there singing. I was like, no doubt. And then I was like, okay, she sounds fantastic, obviously. And then just sitting through service, I remember it was someone to my right, and we had like the old setup, like with the chairs and everything. But I cried, like just watching people praying over somebody. I couldn't even remember who it was, but just praying over someone and just, surrendering themselves to whatever their condition might be, and just asking for prayers and, putting their hands on people and all that stuff. And I like looked at my friend Shelby, and I was like, I'm not okay. I was like, something's wrong. And she was like, I know, I'm crying too. And then I think like ever since then, I just decided, I was like, you know what? I was like, something's changing. Like something feels different. And ever since then, it's been almost 2 years that I've gone here. So it's just been sunshine and rainbows ever since.
And so we talked about how Corrine is currently serving in 3 different departments of the church. There was the youth, that is, what's the age?
The K through 5.
K through 5. And then you work on the media team, and then again as well on the big stage on worship. We talked a little bit about how Zach asked, and it may have caught just the last bits of it, but Zach asked if there was a moment that during serving that really sort of changed you, really moved you. And you talked about how it was a day whenever depression and stuff, your anxiety and all that was difficult, and it was just seeing the children, just them saying your name, them just being like, oh, it's Corrine, somebody excited to see you, and it gave you you felt like you had meaning again. One of the things, and we don't have to dive into it too terribly difficult, because it can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Depression is something that I suffered with
Yeah.
extremely. And it's one of those things that's extremely difficult because it's not something physical happening to you, it's
Mhm.
up in here.
Mhm.
And so there may be some of you who are listening right now. Whenever it comes to depression, a lot of people think that, okay, well, like we were talking about with Justin, just because you serve doesn't
Mhm.
mean things aren't going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And I think whenever it comes to something like depression, it becomes extremely difficult because when you do have a cut, when you do have a scrape, you can do the step by step procedures, and everybody is so different mentally that it's really difficult to put a finger on. And really, the only one,
Yeah.
whenever it comes to stuff like that, is Christ. And
Mhm.
what are some things that, because there are going to be people that are listening to this that are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Whenever you come in to serve, and it's whether it's a Sunday morning or whether you're coming into practice on a Tuesday night, it's going to be a late one. Things are coming down on you pretty hard this week. What is it that you could give advice to people with depression, with anxiety,
Mhm.
who fear and stuff like that? What is something that keeps you coming back every week, that
Mhm.
keeps you fighting instead of just saying, because you can, I've done it. You can
Yeah.
just lay down and say, you know what, it's easier to let the devil just not even worry about me
Mhm.
than it is to stand up against him.
Yeah.
What are some procedures that you do that you found that have helped you kick this?
Mhm. So I think the big thing is like, kind of going off of what you said, I feel like a lot of people just think it's like it's just being sad, like really really sad, and it's like it's not. Like it's depression for a lot of people can be very crippling. Like I was saying earlier that like there were days where like I just felt like it almost felt like you couldn't feel like even like your internal organs. Like you just feel like a hollow like shell. Um but there are days where, like I said, it's worse, and then there are days where it's better, and you let those intrusive thoughts come to fruition, and they, like I said, they cripple you. But I think one of the things that I feel like I do that really kind of lets me through it is I feel like initially you need to let yourself feel those feelings, and like instead of just suppressing them and be like, no, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to. That's totally fine. But if you're going through an episode and you are just like laying in bed and you can't get up, or you can't even take a shower, you can't wash your face, you can't brush your teeth, you can't change out of your pajamas, like nothing like that, I feel like as long as it's still healthy, I feel like you're allowed to feel those feelings, because there's hills and valleys in every part of our life, no matter how steep or how high they are. Um, so I think with me, like I said, feeling those feelings and trying to do things that like physically like make me happy, like even if it's just like drinking water, or if it's I don't feel like I should go get like, McDonald's or whatever, but if you feel like you need to and that makes you happy, that's fine. Go get a milkshake. Go do something that makes you feel good. Go for a walk. I feel like going for like getting outside and like feeling nature and feeling sunshine is something really beneficial. Even if you put your headphones in and nothing's playing, like, and you just want to be by yourself, I feel like that's so incredibly beneficial in getting outside and getting, vitamin D and things like that. But then also, after I feel like you're done feeling those feelings, I feel like you need to reach out to people. Like, even if it doesn't have to be like a doctor or, a psychologist or anything like that, like feeling like you're crazy kind of thing. Because there have been times where I've felt like crazy for feeling those feelings or thinking whatever thoughts. But reach out to somebody and say like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I feel like this, but I need help. Can you come over? Can we FaceTime? Like we're in such a good world of, technology, and like we can FaceTime, we can phone call, or anything like that. Or just, talking through why you might feel like that. Even if nothing comes to fruition and you're like, I don't know why I feel like this, because that's a lot of when my episodes kind of come through. It's like my husband will be like, well, why are you sad? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I cannot explain it. Like, I just feel off. Like, something's just not off kilter type thing. So feeling those feelings and then reaching out to someone that, who could be praying for you, who could come over to your house, who could, FaceTime you, whatever. I feel like that's just probably the best advice that I could give that like I've done to get through those episodes for sure.
I know one of the things really that really helped me out was one time it was just down in it, and I was studying. The Lord brought me to First and Second Timothy, and in First and Second Timothy, they're both letters that Paul wrote to Timothy.
Mm-hmm.
One while he was in prison, one while he was out. He was out of prison when he wrote First Timothy, and it's all joy and it's all comfort and it's all powerful. And then you read Second Timothy, and it's still the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize Paul was in separate places in life. And I remember reading that, and I thought, man, God, how powerful is Paul that he's in a prison and he's still praising you. And God said something to me, and I'll never forget this. And he goes, there's only one thing that's worse than being in prison and praising me. That's being free and in a prison in your own mind and not.
Yeah.
And so really when you begin to cast aside, you know that these thoughts are thoughts that your body, your flesh feels.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to say, give it to God. Mm-hmm. Oh, you've got give it to God.
Yeah, it's so easy.
And, oh, well, you're just not a good Christian because you haven't given it to God yet. Mm-hmm. And there are truths to that. But the thing is it's a step-by-step process.
Yeah.
And the thing that really is the worst about depression is you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to say, hey, Zach, look, man, I just been going through it this week. Yeah. Get over it.
Yeah.
That's what's great about this place. And that was, I've said it on the first podcast. I'll say it again. I've spent more time in Tantera Farms talking to Clayton. There are days where I've been there and I should have clocked in for work because I was there for like 8 hours, but I didn't. But that's the thing. And you made a comment as well talking about doing things you like. And I think that's good. And in the same time, the problem with people is whenever they hear that, they're like, oh, so she's saying I need to go buy that purse that I need. I need to go. No, you're talking about like physical activity, getting up and talking to friends, talking to family, getting up and doing something productive in a sense. Mm-hmm. And the thing is like if McDonald's, if it comes down to dinner and you're beating yourself up over McDonald's, God's not beating you up over me. If you're 300, 400 pounds and you're not doing anything and you refuse to get up and that's one thing.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people, I think sometimes they want to, whenever you hear those thoughts of you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that, you think, okay, well then you hear a preacher that'll say, you're not good. You're a sinner. You're this and this and this. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, man, it's even worse now.
It's worse than I thought.
It's worse than I thought. Man, I'm doomed for it. Not only am I not good enough here, I'm not going to heaven now. And so that only adds on top of every other thing that you're worrying about in life. And that was the thing when you talk about kids and serving in the kids. You see these kids, that's what they want to grow up. And whenever you were a kid, you want to grow up so you can drive. You want to grow up so you can do this. And you want to rush through it. And that just adds another layer rushing onto depression, because not only are you depressed, but you feel like you've got to hurry and get these things, blah, 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 got to get it. And that's the best. That's what's nice about Wednesday night services. And that's what I like it whenever Rev goes along, is he's doing what the Lord's leading him to. And so you get that extra time. You get that opportunity, those 4 extra minutes to say, God, I could be in my car driving home right now, but I'm going to stay here for you. And it's those moments that you spend with Christ that helps bring you out of those situations.
For sure, yeah.
And it's walking in and seeing everybody else's face. It's like you said, walking in and seeing kids smiling, running around.
Yeah.
It is a tough, difficult thing. And it's truly awful to be free but a prison in your mind, and you can literally be around hundreds of people and feel alone and feel quiet and feel desolate. And that was one of the things whenever first coming to and serving and everything. Um, Everybody was, Nate, man, you're real quiet. For the first time in a long time, I didn't hear voices. I didn't hear um, a constant noise of something. I felt peace. I felt love. I felt Jesus. I heard his voice, and it was just, it's so awesome to not have that constant just berating and belittling that depression can cause. And I mean, I think, Zach, is there anything, because I mean, it is something that I think people, they look a little bit away from, because it's, oh well, you're not a good person if you have depression, you're not spending enough time in the scriptures. And some of that may be true. If you're not picking up your Bible at all, and you're not praying, and you're not trying to fight back, you're not doing anything, and God can't help you if you're not willing to help yourself. But that's what depression does, is it gets you down there, and that level, it seems just like little things are overwhelming that you used to be able to do with ease before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. Getting up every day and taking a shower, something as simple as just getting up out of bed,
Yeah.
seems impossible. I mean, I battled depression when my sister passed away, and there's still intrusive thoughts. Here it is, almost 8 years later, thinking, why did she go and not me? So, I mean, she was a straight A student all the way through college, stuff like that. Worked 2 full-time jobs and still had, the dean's list and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, and here I am, dropped out of college, working a dead-end job, nothing to show for myself, and she's out there making it happen. And then also, as being an adult, everybody, the world tells you, you got to own a house by, this
23,
time.
yeah.
Got to own a car, got to have a decent.
You have to have kids
job.
by the time I'm however old.
Yeah, you got to have kids by the time you're 25.
Biological clock is ticking.
Yeah. But, I mean, depression is just a horrible monster that can eat you, and it's something that luckily is out there and being talked about now a lot more than it used to be. And back, what was it, 3 years ago, Pastor Rick talked about it, and especially his mental health and stuff like that. So that was a really cool way of opening the door here, and I think that's opened a lot of people's eyes here at Home Church, and just being able to have that conversation with people and knowing that you're not in alone is a really cool aspect, and something that I think a lot of us are grateful for.
We will we'll go ahead and walk away from the sad stuff. It is stuff that does need to be talked about, though, and that's one of the things that we liked about this podcast, is if it's something that you're not into, you don't have to listen. But these are things that happen to people who serve God and love God. And if you don't think Corrine doesn't love God and she's not doing everything right, and is that better? Is that better? Okay.
It looks better on this side.
And Nathan and Zach aren't because they're face depression or whatever. You come out of it. I mean, there's times where you come out of it, and the light does shine. But it's things that do need to be talked about, because so many people, if it's a grudge that you hold against something and you keep it silent, it's being silent and not giving it to God and not letting people in, thinking you can fix it yourself. Depression isn't something you can fix yourself. Yeah. Yourself is the reason you've gotten yourself depressed.
Yeah.
You've tried to do things you. It's giving it up, and that giving up is very, very difficult, but it is coming here. It is serving. It is giving yourself to God. Yeah. And I think I think it's hard to say that somebody who serves on 3 different teams doesn't love to come into this place. So
it's okay. It's all right. I guess it's fine.
So just so somebody can get, we did this with JB last week too, just so somebody can understand the ones that are behind the scenes, the ones that aren't always in the visible eye. Whenever when you're working back there with the kids, I'm not going to lie. Every once in a while, I pay attention to it, but when I'm here, I've got to get everything going. So sometimes you don't always see everybody that's putting in the work. How, in a, let's just say in, because I know it's going to change with you having different teams and stuff. So JB, obviously, in one area, it's easy to judge, but you working 3 different teams in a month, let's just say in a month's time, how many days out of the week and would you say you're here at the church?
I would say like, especially like this week. Like let's just think about this week, because we have worship, prayer and worship night. I think I have rehearsal on Tuesday, and then I start my weeks on Mondays, unlike some psychos that start their their weeks on Sundays. Like it's the weekend, and then weekday is Monday. Thank you. I don't know whose butt I'm gonna hurt with that, but weeks start on Mondays. Weeks start on Mondays. So so Sunday, and then so Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday today, I guess you could count that, and then sometimes on Saturdays, very rarely, and then Sundays. So probably like 3 to 4 times a week I'm here. Last week I didn't serve anything, like I just wasn't requested, and I was like waking up, and I woke up at like 7, and I was like, am I supposed to be somewhere right now? I was like, I think my alarm didn't go off, and then I was like, no, I'm just not serving this week. Like nobody needed me this week. So yeah, how rude. Your best player? No. But yeah, like 3 to 4 days a week usually I'm here. And even if it's for like 20 minutes or 2 hours, 3 hours, yeah, usually like 3 to 4 days a week roughly, I would say that I'm here.
And because I know like on the worship team, they bring in new songs, and so there's multi-tracks, so you listen to the multi-tracks, or maybe it's a song that you already know. Whenever you're preparing, let's just say that they've got a new song coming up this week, and what are the steps on the worship team that you yourself would take for learning this song?
So I listen to it on like YouTube or Spotify like a couple of times, and then usually like I've trained myself to like being in choir and like in high school and middle school and stuff. I've trained my ear to like, if I have to hear a harmony or a melody or whatever it is, kind of filling in, and then, oh, that's really off key. We're going to back off a little bit. And then, if I feel like I'm kind of stuck, I usually like will ask Dana, and then, we'll go over it like with everybody, like feeling like, okay, what pitch are you at? What note are you on? That kind of thing. So like I grew up like reading sheet music, but I feel like I do better just kind of like doing it. So I will just kind of like go through the song, and then usually like after 2 times running through it, I'm like, okay, I got it. I think it's fine. Like it's okay. So it comes very natural to me just with my background and like singing for so long and having to memorize things. So it just kind of comes naturally to me. It's almost second nature. Like I don't really think about it.
Yeah, as somebody that's wanting to be in the stage light, you kind of have to
Yeah.
think ahead and something.
You really have to be on your toes.
So now, like the media, there's not. I mean, we can show up for practice Tuesday night, but I mean, unless you're going to go home and turn a TV and a computer on and off and make sure you know how to turn stuff, there's really not a whole
7 remotes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we could learn the lyrics so we know that way. Like how that's what I do on whenever I come in to put a song in. I'll play the song, I'll listen to it, and I'll see this is how the words are grouped up. But they take a long pause here, and the slide wants a verse here, but it doesn't match, so we're going to move it back here to make it flow better. So there's little stuff like that you can do. But like whenever it comes to the kids and prepping yourself, because I can only imagine waking up at 7 o'clock, coming in here, being here by 8:30, and a room full of rowdy kids. How does one mentally prepare themselves? Does it just come? Are you just yourself when you walk in there, or is there a level of, all right, we've got young ones here, let's go?
Yeah. I think sometimes it's hard, like, distinguishing like when you have to like discipline and then when you can just like goof around and like be silly with kids. That's kind of where I feel like I've struggled with like oh, I'm really good with kids and then sometimes I'm not, because sometimes I don't want to like discipline kids because that's not my child and that kind of thing. But typically the kids back there are pretty well behaved, and I'm not just saying that. Like obviously they are kids, so they're going to have their rambunctious sides to them. But prepping for it, I feel like is just Jamie does a good job of being like, okay, like I'm in charge and Corinne's in charge, so if you need anything, like you should talk to them, and you should make sure that you're following the rules that they give you, and because it's for and it's for safety and things like that. So but I think just being myself and just succumbing to like if they want to do something or if they want to play a game or something like that, it's just being just surrender. It's just surrendering to. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I hurt myself all the time.
But it's just surrendering to what they want to do for a little bit, and then if just if they need help with something or anything like that, just being gracious and give grace and understand where they're coming from sometimes.
So as someone that serves on 3 different teams, what's your biggest piece of advice that's someone coming new or has been coming for a while that wants to get, more involved and serve?
I would say be a sponge. Like just be willing to learn anything new and do anything new. I like I said earlier, like the reason like in theater I did technical side as well as I acted. It's to have an appreciation for both teams. So like whenever I'm up on stage, I have an appreciation for what media is doing as well as what worship team's doing, and then vice versa. Just the work and the dedication that we all have. And like I said, it's not a burden coming in here. It's everybody loves to do it, and it's almost second nature, and it just comes very naturally to everybody. So I would say just be a sponge and just be willing to do not even necessarily what you're good at. Like try something different. Like try hospitality, try media team, try kids church, try nursery, try something that is out of your comfort zone. And even if you have to kind of like stand in the corner for a little bit, like, and just be observant, just be willing to learn, because everybody here is so accommodating and will do whatever they can to make it make sense to you. So if soundboard doesn't make sense to you, like they'll do whatever they can to make it make sense. Or, lyrics or live stream or whatever it is, like they're willing to help you. It's not the fact of like I feel like you just have to like just take that step, like put yourself in that step through that threshold and just go for it.
So as somebody that you have been as our first female guest, you have been to the Flourish retreats. You've been they've had like the ones here, and then they go to Branson. Describe in a little bit of detail for the women that will be listening to the podcast, and even the men can get some idea. And from there, what is Flourish all about? And tell us about some of the cool experiences that you've experienced just being at these events and around these women.
So our Flourish is like the main verse that we focus on is Proverbs 4:23. So like we have those shirts that say, guard your heart and things like that. And I feel like as women, just in general in society, I feel like we have a lot of stigma and a lot of pressures from society. And you have to look a certain way. Your hair has to be cut a certain way. It has to be a certain color. Your body has to look a certain type. You have to, use this certain shampoo, conditioner, like all of that. Like there's so much pressures that society gives women that makes it seem almost next to impossible for us to just generally feel good about ourselves. Like, your skin, your hair, your nails, your outfit, your, whatever it is, the way your body looks, how much you weigh, like things like that. So this with Flourish is just like, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter, what car you drive. It doesn't matter um, anything. Coming in, it's just surrendering yourself and just being vulnerable. And, there is a ton of women there that do not care what is outside, but what is inside when you come through that door is love. And it is, like I said, surrendering yourself to the Lord, and just being completely, and just literally opening your hands and just saying, like, I give, like, nothing matters. Like, nothing matters from society. Nothing matters on my phone. Nothing matters on TikTok. Nothing matters on Instagram. It's like, that is worthless. And, Clayton says it all the time, like, things of this world do not matter. And it's so hard because, you, in the society we live in, it's almost impossible to not have, a smartphone and be on Facebook and be on Instagram and be on TikTok and fall down those rabbit holes of being like, oh, I wish I looked like that. Like, I wish my hair was that long. I wish I didn't have so much acne on my face, like that kind of thing. So Flourish is just, having, it's obviously it's fantastic having the whole group of people, like men and women, being a support system and being there whenever you need anything. But it just hits different too whenever it's also women, because there's struggles that we specifically go through that only women are going to know. So like, Mandy just gave birth. It's like she's probably confiding in a lot of the other women that are mothers, and being like, I have questions about X, Y, and Z, and they can relate on that level. And, maybe Lacey and I might relate more on a level of, we don't have kids, we're just married, and we're just kind of cruising through life, so we can relate on certain levels. And it's just all women from all walks of life, and all that have all had different experiences, leaving everything out the door and coming together for one purpose, and knowing our purpose is to serve the Lord. And Flourish, I feel like, has just flourished, if you want to play on words there, but it has definitely, I feel like, brought out a lot of people's personalities, and has definitely broken some shells and broken chains, and let women just, be themselves, but completely, like I said, surrendering themselves to the Lord. And it, again, whatever's outside doesn't matter. It's what's in here. It's what we're doing. It's worshiping. It's, all of that stuff. It's doing what's important to those aspects to where we can serve the Lord. And the group that we have of women is just fantastic. The leaders and everything that gets put on is just fantastic.
One of the shout outs that I'd like to give, and I can really tell just as a shout out to the women of Home Church, Ricky, which is Malachi's mother, Ricky, which is Malachi's father, Trisha, which is Malachi's mother. She got baptized not too long ago, and she was worried about doing it. She's on a journey to lose. She's lost a bunch of weight already. She's really wanting to lose a lot more. She's looking so much better, feeling so much better. But one of the things she was worried about getting baptized is because she thought people were going to judge her. And it seemed like after the Flourish event, and after being able to connect with these women of Home Church, and she, I shouldn't speak for her, but it just to see the confidence in her by grouping around the women around here, that was just amazing to me. It really, really, it put a lot of joy in my heart seeing her stand up to the world that was trying to bring her down, and she was like, no, God's more important than how I look. And so I think that is a testimony from the Florida, not just what you're saying, but, and so I know, being a younger woman, like you said, you've got Lacey, which is Dalton's wife. You and Mandy both went to Republic, correct? No,
we went to Parkview. We both went to Parkview, Okay. So I was a freshman in 2011, and they graduated in 2012. So like I came into it summer of 2011, and then her and my sister graduated May of 2012.
Okay. So you still have the remnants of friends, like of what is it like connecting with older generations? Because you're still going to have those connections
Yeah.
with the older generation, somebody like Miss Ellie. Um, what, because I think people can get stuck in that aspect of not the same age or they're a little bit older than me. But Miss Ellie she treats me like a son every time I see her. She hugs me. What is it? What is it like whenever the older generation is telling you, "Hey," is that what is it like with them? I know the flourishes. I mean, there's still a younger group of women anyways, but the older, the sort of the ones that you look up to, who's some people that you really have helped guide you?
So I love Miss Beth. I love Miss Beth. She's a firecracker. I love giving her grief. I was giving her a lot of grief around the Super Bowl. I was like, I don't know if we're gonna win on Sunday, like for the championship, the AFC championship. I was like, I don't know if we're gonna win on Sunday. But she tells me, like when I'm going through it, she's like, you do not listen to what the devil has to say to you. The devil is a liar. And she just goes on and on and on. But it's so heartwarming. And it's just like, she gives some of the best hugs. And, she reminds me a lot of like my grandma Betty. She was like probably like 4'11", 4'9", probably. She was really short. But she was a firecracker. And she, like I said, she just is like, you just don't listen to what they have to say. You are, she's like, we've been thinking about you so much. And it's so comforting. And like, and Tanya as well. Like Tanya is, she's like, I've been thinking about you. And, I'll send a prayer request and she's like, how's that going? Like the following up and like listening to that. But I don't think I've ever been around a stronger support system of women than I have with this church, and it's all ages. It's, we all have each other's back. Like Kim as well, like is a fighter, and she is advocating for the women of this church. She gave a very good, not necessarily a testimony, but she gave a good speech at our last event, and she gave us all this this little wooden cross, and she was like, I was thinking about it, and I wanted something like in my hand to hold, like I feel like whenever I needed God. And it was just this little wooden cross, and she was like, keep it in your pocket, keep it in your purse, hold it with you whenever you're praying, like all this stuff. Hold it whenever you don't even need to be like, don't need to pray, like just hold on to it and just like grip it as tight as you can. And she's like, I just hope that you feel like if you need to feel something tangible for the love of God, that it would resonate in this. So there's, those are to name a few, but there's all the women here are just so supportive, and we have each other's backs, and it's just it's a feeling like no other. Like it's like almost leaves me speechless half the time. Ironically enough, like me being speechless. Ironically enough, like there are some times where like I do not have anything to say.
Well, we're gonna probably wrap this one up. I don't know exactly how much of that first. It may have recorded all of it, but we're an hour and 21 on air, 43 recorded.
Find it.
We'll get everything figured out.
But it'll buff.
It truly has been a pleasure, and I know Zach asked you before advice for serving in 3 different areas, but before we go, just explain, because we've gone through the story from the childhood until now. We've talked about home church. For people that are online, or for those of you that, or for those that don't know and haven't so far figured out who Corrine is, in just a few short words, how would you describe yourself? Just yourself in general.
I think extroverted and loud, but very, you know, loving and um, friendly, and I'd do anything for you. Like I said, I would drop everything in a hat, and do what I could to help somebody out, and uh, just be there for anybody at any time, that kind of thing. So,
And then I think the last question that we're going to ask you today is, what's the next step for you, like vision-wise, either here at home church or at home with you and your husband?
So, next step is probably like eventually, like there will be kids running around probably at some point. He has dreams to, you know, grow within his company and that he works for. So I'm hoping that, yes, if you need anything at Supplement Superstores, my husband works at the one on Academy on Campbell. Please, if you need all of your supplemental needs, please go see Adam Shelangoski. Please go see Adam. He has a big red beard. You can't miss him. I would call him a redhead, but he's bald at 27. Poor thing. But no, he is promising, and just by knowing him, I know that anything he sets his mind to, he's going to do. And so I'm excited to see where him and one of our friends will take the business, and franchising, and working on things of that nature. So I'm hoping that everything goes well, and I'm praying that everything goes well. So just be successful in business, and achieve his dreams, and I'll be right there. I'll be cheering him on, that kind of thing. And being a housewife, can't wait to stay home all the time. No, but just supporting him no matter what, and because he is my best friend, and I want to see him succeed, because I know if he succeeds, we'll both succeed. And just seeing where life takes us, because I know that the story's been written for a long time. So I do know that God's got some good things in store, and I'm elated, and I'm excited, and I can't wait to see what he's got in store for me and everybody else.
Awesome. Again, sorry for not hitting that record button. Technical difficulties. I'm not perfect, so by God's grace, we'll make it through. But thank you for coming in with us today, Corrine.
Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciated it. And guys, stay blessed, and we'll talk to you next time.